Galloway's presents Tech Talk at 3 with Linda Baker from Progress Lifeline.
Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to Galloway's Tech Talk at 3. It's Andrew, your Assistive Technology Coordinator at Galloway's. I'm really pleased to be joined today by Linda Baker, who's from Progress Lifeline. Linda, thanks very much for joining us today. It's great for you to be with us and to meet our community. And over to you to tell us a little bit about Progress Lifeline and some of the tech that you've got for us today.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you for the opportunity to give a chat about Progress Lifeline. What I'd like to sort of briefly tell you today is how Progress Lifeline have been supporting people through COVID. We supply the Telecare system, and we also supply the emergency responder services and the GPS support services. And throughout COVID, we've been supporting approximately 50,000 people. We've been redeployed from the office, as you can probably tell. I'm in my living room here. So I've brought a few of the sensors along to show you. Along the way of COVID, we've been redeployed and we've been calling people just to make sure that they have the right services, that they have food, that they have been signposted to the correct organisations, and that has gone down very, very well. Including yourselves, by the way, thank you very much for helping us along the way. We did need your help at one point. What I'd like to do is tell you a little bit more about the Telecare services and what we do. If I may start with the in-house Telecare. Now, the in-house Telecare is a system that is set up at home, and you have access to our alarm response centre 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And you may be familiar with it, but if I can just show you, there is a box here, which is a control box that plugs into your telephone socket. And attached with the box will be a red pendant alarm, which you may have seen in the past. And when that red pendant is pressed, you get automatic contact with our alarm response centre. So there's always someone there for that bit of reassurance. We also have attached to that in-house Telecare system a variety of different sensors. Now we have, for example, the typical smoke alarm, which the fire service has okayed, so this is the approved one. And we also have carbon monoxide detectors, which can sit near any gas appliances. We have for flooding, for example, if someone leaves a tap on and forgets to turn it off, these little detectors will sit underneath the sink or underneath the shower, underneath the bath. And once the water hits the little metal feet on the bottom, then this will make a loud beep to let the person know that something has been left on. And all of these sensors will automatically be triggered back through to the alarm response centre as well. So we know that there's something that has been triggered and something is wrong. We also have medication reminders. So we can, once the medication is put into this circular box, it is controlled by a timer. And if someone has forgotten to take medication, we can talk through this and we can prompt people to take the medication. Another device is the movement sensor. So if someone has left a room and they don't go back into the room, then we can detect that we need to get involved and just make sure that they're okay if they're not back in their normal chair or even in bed. Another good one that we have, which is quite popular, is the bed shaker. So this one can go underneath the pillow And if an alarm goes off in the house, this will shake underneath the pillow and let the person know and wake them up and let them know that one of the alarms has gone off.
I like that. That's a really good idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that good for people with hearing loss as well?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Also, we have it's actually a carer's watch, but this is a watch which can be linked up to something like this. So, for example, if we have a young chap, a young boy actually, he's only 5, and he has epilepsy, and the parents couldn't get to sleep because he was sleeping with them, and they were trying to think of a solution where they could get him back in his own bed. So they came to us, and the little one has this underneath the pillow now, and it detects if he's having an epileptic fit. And this will sit at the side of mum and dad's bed, and it will just vibrate or bleep, and it actually comes off the charger, and they can wear it, and it can vibrate on the wrist as well. So this is quite a good one. So this sort of replicates this as well for a user. So if any of the alarms go off in the house, they can wear this and it will vibrate on the wrist as well. So that's quite good. We also have, for the hard of hearing, we have something called the beacon. And the beacon flashes if something is triggered. So if the smoke alarm or any of the alarms, even the front door, can be linked up to this. This will flash if anything goes off and let the person know. So if they can't hear it, they will certainly see it because this is very bright.
I could just ask you, so the beacon, is that something you can move that around the home?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and it's on a battery, obviously, so you can
Yes.
take that anywhere you wanted. That's pretty.
Yes, you can put it in it. It's actually got a power lead. It's not. It's got a little power lead, but I think that's a charger. I would have to check. It would have to check back at the office, but I actually think that it's a little charging point there. Mm-hmm. It may need to be plugged into a socket. I can check that for you and get back to you.
Yeah, looks like it. I mean, it looks like it's got a battery in it.
Yes, there's definitely a little battery sign here. Yes, I will check that for you.
Yeah.
Another one is the bogus call alarm. So if you have someone at the front door and you're not sure if you really want to talk to them, but they won't go away, this one can be attached to the side of the door. And when it's pressed, it doesn't make a noise. It's completely silent, but it does send an alert back to the alarm response center that there is somebody at the door, and they can record the conversation just in case they have to get the police involved or anything like that. So that's quite a good thing.
So that actually got a microphone in it, and that records.
Yes, this will be recorded. This is just a silent button.
Right.
So the person won't hear you pressing anything when it's pressed.
Right.
But the alarm response center will listen into the conversation and can record it from there.
That's really clever, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good one. Those dodgy salesmen.
I know.
Trying to sell you something, or those television license people, maybe.
Exactly, I know. There's many of them coming to my door too. We also have the Falls packages, which are, this is a watch, this is a Falls watch. So rather than having the red pendant alarm, which is not a Falls detector as such, you can actually have the Falls watch or the Falls pendant. And what this does is, it doesn't need to be touched. If you actually trip up and have a fall at home or with it in the garden, because the radius for this alarm receiving box is 50 meters. So if you were to have a fall anywhere and this drops, then we will know that there's a fall taking place. and we can speak to you through the box. And the box is it has a volume control on it, so it's quite loud. So we'll be able to talk to you.
And then obviously if you can't talk to the person, then
if there's no response, anything like that, we will send out an emergency responder.
Right. Okay.
And this is the equivalent, but can be worn as a little brooch on a blouse like this, or it can be worn on the belt as well. So that's the 3 Falls sensors. That's all the sensors I have. There are many, many more, of which I can send out a list. I have a special list of all the sensors with a photograph and a brief description of what they do. We have such things that as the bed sensors. So you've got the mats, so we can determine if someone's got out of a bed and hasn't got back in again. We would just do a check to see that everything was okay. We also have the chair sensors. It's the same sort of thing in a smaller basis. So if they get off the chair and they don't go back into the chair, we can check to make sure that they're okay. So quite a large variety of sensors available. There's usually a solution for most things. So what I'd like to do is mention the emergency responder service as well. We have a team of emergency responders all over Lancashire and in Calderdale, and we're moving out to Merseyside area soon. And the emergency responders are there 24/7, so they're there 365 days a year. So examples of a response would be for a fall, of course, but there are many, many other responses. Say if someone doesn't talk back to us, we will send a responder out. We had a lady who had actually fallen when she got out of the bath. We have to determine if the fall is an uninjured fall or an injured fall. Now, if the person can speak to us, we can then do a triage to determine if it's an injured fall. In this case, the lady had hurt her head, but and the emergency services were called rather than the emergency responder. But because the lady was naked, we actually wanted to get out there with a female responder and just give her a bit of dignity before the emergency services arrived. So we were there just to cover her up and stay with her until they came. So we will go to an uninjured fall, and if it's an injured fall, we will call the family and the emergency responder services as well. One of the devices that I wanted to show you, moving on from that, is the newest technology for Progress Lifeline, and that is the Telecare outside of the home. So what we have is this new device called the Footprint. And this gives people that bit of reassurance outside of the home. They can take it outside and wear it around the neck, or they can attach it to a key ring, or put it in their pocket, wherever they prefer. And you can have the contact with the alarm response centre directly through this. They will talk to you through this, and you can talk to them through this. So you can either press the button, which is the little SOS button on the front of it, or if you have a fall, it works the same way as the in-house falls detector. Once it's dropped or it goes down, we know that you've fallen. So we will speak through this as well if a fall has taken place. Now, the good thing about this is it works inside the home if you don't have a telephone line. So if someone doesn't have a telephone line, they could use this instead and still have contact to the alarm response centre. Or you can use it outside anywhere in the country. It works off a GPS system and it has a hunting SIM. So rather than a mobile phone contract, which is maybe linked up to a SIM via Vodafone or something like that, there may not be a great signal in a certain place where you are, but this one actually works on what's called a hunting sim. So if it doesn't find a good signal with one company, it hops onto the other. So you'll always get through to us, and we have tried and tested this up a fell at the Lake District, which is normally not very good for reception, and it actually was clear through and we simulated it and it worked. So it's a very, very good device. It's the newest technology for assistive technology for telecare anyway, and this one has been particularly popular through COVID. We've had families come on to us because maybe loved ones don't have a telephone line, but they still want the contact with them, and they've not been able to get through to them or not been able to visit them. And that person maybe cannot use a mobile phone properly. This is something that has been popular through that period. Another thing that this does, it doesn't do it on our system at the moment, but it will do in the future, is geofence. If you hear the word geofencing, that means that we can put an invisible fence around a regular place where someone may walk. For example, if someone goes to the local baker shop and the family are familiar with them going to that particular shop, we can put an invisible fence in our system, and if the person crosses that fence or that invisible fence, it will send an alert back to the alarm receiving centre and tell us that that person has wandered further than they normally should go. So we can detect where they are, because a map is sent back with that alert, so we know where the person is at any one time. So we can get in touch with the family, we can talk to them. If the person's a little bit confused, we can try and get some help to them. But it's really good because we would always know where the person is when that alert goes off.
My wife wants to get me one of them now, I think, Linda. It's going to geofence me, I think.
Yeah, this is definitely the newest thing for us, and a very exciting time as well. It's so popular, we've decided for the first time, actually, we've never used e-commerce before, but it's something that is so popular, we're going to offer it online. It's not launched yet, but it's happening in the background as we speak. So I think it will be available to people to purchase directly online soon with our service, with our alarm receiving service, always there for someone. It's just such a reassurance for people. The actual device itself sits in a little charger on a night. So it just clicks. It's quite a large vent there to slip into. So it just clicks into place. You can hear a little click there, and that's it charging. So it just needs to sit on there, and then it's ready to go the next day.
It's pretty good, that, isn't it? It's a nice size as well.
Yes.
And so you I suppose you have to make sure you charge that every night, because it's probably got a limited amount of charge in it. Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing to remember. It just needs to be charged up. Yes. One of the other things I meant to mention about the emergency responder service as well. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have the contract with Lancashire, the Northwest Ambulance Service. So what happens at the moment is if someone has a fall and anyone dials 999 and it's triaged by the 999 team as an uninjured fall, Progress Lifeline emergency responders are picking them up. So we're picking people up now on behalf of the ambulance service. We're saving the ambulance service approximately 250 calls a week at the moment, which is very good, which frees them up to go on to more serious events. Another thing I wanted to mention about the emergency responder is we're getting to people within average 25 minutes. So although our leaflets may be quoting maybe 60 minutes, we are monitoring that every day, and it's very rarely that we get above 25 minutes to get to someone who's had a fall, which is very good, because historically, as the ambulance service will admit, it can take up to 4 hours for someone to get to someone from the ambulance service to be picked up again. So it's such a good service, and we've had such good feedback from families on that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it depends on the emergency, doesn't it? I suppose as well, or the fall, or if it's like an uninjured fall as well. On the response times, isn't it? So it probably does make a lot of sense that you guys are picking those calls up. I think the one thing for me, it's that peace of mind. Not only for like a carer or a family member, but for also the person that's going to be, using the alarm systems or all the different sensors around the home.
That's right.
You could probably map a whole house out and find reasons to put these sensors, for different people's needs.
Of course, I mean, we get referrals through from different organisations. Any professional can refer us through. We've got the links on the Progress Lifeline website. Now, we have many occasions when someone has been referred, for example, a smoke alarm, and when our installers go out, they'll sit down. They don't just go out and attach a few devices. They actually sit with the person and they listen to the person. They're extremely compassionate about what they do. If they actually find that person's maybe hard of hearing and it's not being picked up at the assessment, then they will install the relevant sensors to meet that person's needs. Very, very compassionate about what they do. Our admin team at Progress Lifeline are also extremely experienced in what they do, and if they have a professional that may be phoning up unsure about something, then they can guide them through the best sensors, because there's a lot of technology out there now, and it's changing all the time. So they're always trained and up to date about what to recommend for different people in different scenarios.
I think, yeah, and I think there was a video on your website about the technology and the sensors, and it was a couple, and it was the gentleman looked after his wife. His wife had had a stroke.
That's right.
And he felt quite guilty about going out and doing his hobbies and going to his woodwork club or playing golf or whatever it was he was into. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there in that situation that don't consider this type of technology, because it's kind of, nobody wants to be glued together all the time in the house, especially we have been recently with COVID, haven't we? But when things are eased and we go back to normal, it's quite difficult. People don't want to feel like a burden, and carers don't want to feel, or a husband or a wife doesn't want to feel guilty actually about leaving the home and worrying about the loved one. So using this type of technology, is there a lot of work that you guys do around that awareness, kind of encouraging people to look at this type of technology so that they can improve their overall lives for each other, really?
Oh yes, I mean, I'm in touch with hundreds of organisations. I'm invited to Alzheimer groups, Age UK, local community groups, health teams. My job is to grow awareness of it every single day, and that's what I do. And you would be quite amazed actually at the number of people who were not familiar with all the technology. I really enjoyed pre-COVID going out and giving talks to the fire stations, you know, the firefighters.
Yeah.
And the firefighting teams who are in people's houses most of the time. We're familiar with the red pendant alarm, and we're familiar with the control box and the smoke alarm, of course, but they hadn't seen half of the other things that I took along to show them, and they were quite amazed. And that then automatically grows that awareness to pass on to people if they happen to be out and about. So the links are always there. The information is there. We have links on the Progress Lifeline website. There's a lot of information on there also about the sensors. I myself have created particularly for the COVID period, because I've not been able to get out, have created a 3-page document which shows you all the sensors, and that will be made into a lovely leaflet soon, which can be distributed to different organisations and the general public when needed.
Brilliant. Yeah, sounds really good. This kind of brings us all back to the, it's all this smart home technology, and I love smart home technology. So
yes,
this is probably something obviously a lot more specialised, and I think it opens our, it makes us more aware that this technology is not just designed for elderly people. It can be used by lots of different people, and not just because of being elderly, but it can be used by different people with different disabilities or particular needs.
Yes.
It's got a wide range of functions, hasn't it?
Yes, of course. We link in with peace of mind as well, which is the carers, and it gives them that extra bit of reassurance, as you already mentioned, about being able to pop out to the shops and just knowing that someone is there for that period and while they're away. So there's a lot there for reassurance purposes and to help families as a whole, not just the individual. As I mentioned before, the people do relate telecare to the elderly, but our age ranges on the system are between 5 and 105. So there are lots of different age groups in between. So
that's
anybody,
a massive not gap, but that's a massive
range,
isn't it? Yeah, massive range.
Yeah.
Well, I think I probably asked you enough questions, Linda. Probably hogged your time a bit more.
It's all right.
We might have some questions from our community today for you, because I think there might maybe a lot of people interested in some of these things. I mean, I hope they've got questions. They always do. You never let me down. They've always got something to say or a comment or a question. So we'll open it up to the floor, and I mean, I've got a few questions still in mind, and if nobody asks them, then I will ask them. So we'll put it out there. Has anybody got a question for Linda regarding what she's been talking about today? And everyone's quiet.
Tracy's got one question. Hi.
Hi, Tracy.
Hello there. You talked about actually the service. It sounds very comprehensive, certainly. In respect of referrals, is it something that the client can self-refer to, or is it done through social services, or both?
Both. The way it works at the moment is if a doctor or a social services or a health worker recommends a person for telecare in Lancashire, they can go through that route to obtain the service free through Lancashire County Council. So we don't do, as a company, we do not do the tick boxing for that. So we don't know how a person qualifies.
No.
The decision is made through the council.
Yeah, it'll
So,
be the little bit of facts criteria. So,
yeah.
okay.
Yes.
And
So
so,
if someone
sorry, go on.
doesn't sorry, Grace, if someone doesn't qualify for it,
Yeah,
they can come directly onto us. The telephone number is available on the leaflets and on the website anyway.
yeah,
They're normally told by Lancashire County Council if they don't qualify for whatever reason, just to
yeah,
come.
that they can contact you.
Yeah, just to come. They'll give you the number, and they
And
can come on directly.
I presume that it's like a tapered costing then, according to the level of support that's required or need, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's all done through the Care Act 2014. It's something that we don't personally get involved in.
No.
It's a procedure that's followed through the council. The first time we know about a customer coming on board is when they refer them through to us. So there's no questions asked by us at that stage on why that or how that person qualified.
Right.
So
So are you saying that the council also then administer the charges then if they don't qualify through the facts?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, and forgive me if I don't, if someone doesn't qualify for the service through them,
Yeah.
then they can come directly onto us, and we have a tiered pricing system.
Yeah.
And yes, and it's a small cost per week to come to us. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Brilliant. Great question. Great question. Okay, we'll move on. Have we got anybody else to ask a question?
Yes, there was mention of injured and uninjured falls. I think sometimes that's difficult to determine. I can imagine a person falling, they might have injured themselves, or they may not really, and they might be tempted to say, oh, I think I'm all right, but I've fallen and I can't get up.
Absolutely.
Does that lead to any conversation that might clarify the matter?
Yes, of course. If someone, for example, if someone says I'm not injured and we actually go out there and they are injured, we will stay with that person until the emergency services arrive. So obviously we will then call the emergency services at that point. We won't leave the person, we'll stay with them until they arrive.
Can I
Thank you
ask
very
a
much.
question?
Yeah, go for it. Who's that speaking?
How do your emergency responders get access to the house? Do you have a key safe?
Yes, we can actually supply a key safe if the person does not have one. So the details of the 4-digit code applied to that key safe will be held in our secure system. The only people that will know about it are the alarm response centres and the family, of course. So the emergency responder will be given the 4-digit code. So we can supply the key safe and fit it just as we can with all the other sensors.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamal Ahmad. Can you hear me?
Hi, Jamal.
Yeah, I've got a question. I just wanted to ask about the sensor that goes underneath the tap for the water. Can you just tell me a bit more about how that works? Is it quite big, or is it like a small device?
No, it's actually only about 2 inches in diameter. It's a round unit, but it's only about, I think it's about 2.5, maybe 2 to 2.5 inches in diameter.
And does it go in the sink, or does it just go underneath the tap, Linda?
It just goes underneath where you might think there may be a leak. For example, on a U-bend or something like that, underneath the sink, or at the side. I don't know, but I have in my kitchen. Underneath the units, there's a good gap. There's a good gap. So if someone leaves a tap running, it will automatically eventually come over the side. So once it hits this the feet of this, it's only about 3/4 of an inch high. So once the water drips down the side of the unit, it doesn't have to be accumulated on the floor to a certain height. Once it once it hits the unit and drips down the side, it will detect that there's something being left on before it gets,
All right.
you know, a
Okay.
worse situation. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, Norris.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really clever, that actually. I mean, it's one of the things that a lot of people do is they leave the bath running,
Yes.
and then you see it coming through the ceiling before it's too late.
Too late.
And then you
Yeah.
and then you open the bathroom door and it's like a phone party in your bathroom. So
Yes.
one of these sensors would help avoid doing something like that for sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's really cool. It's amazing to see the different range of sensors that are available as well for all different types of things. So it's really interesting to see. And what we'll do is we'll get some information from you, Linda, that we can disseminate to our mailing list and on our Facebook page so people can check out, you know, more information
Yes.
about
Yes.
the service and how they can get involved with it.
Yes.
What's the easiest way for people to check it out online?
Well, I can send you a link if you wish, which has an automatic link to the website.
Yeah.
I can also attach a couple of little videos of case studies that we have done. And I can also attach a list of all the different sensors if that's something that's of use to the families.
Yeah.
If I may clarify, while I remember, was it Gracie who was asking about prices through Lancashire County Council, etc.?
Tracy, I think it was Tracy who
Yes.
was asking about that. Yeah.
I should have told her, I do apologise, but this one is not commissioned. The footprint, which is the one that can be used outside the house and inside the house, this one is not commissioned by Lancashire County Council. It's only the Telecare service that is. So this one is something you would have to come on to us directly to obtain. Just to clarify, I do apologise, I didn't mention it earlier.
And what is the cost of that then?
This one is $19.99 a month, so £5 a week for that one.
I think that's pretty. I think that's a good price for a system like that, because if you are of a certain age, you may still you may be on a benefit that helps you afford those things as well.
Yes.
That's probably quite a really reasonable price for a product like that. I think that's
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just tell me the price for that top sensor again, Linda, please, if that's okay?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one.
Can you tell me the price for how much the sensor for the water one is, the top one?
Well, the flood detector is actually attached to the unit. So the unit and the red pendant alarm is something which is the basic package.
Right.
So
okay.
any of these sensors that I've shown you for in the house, you need to have the control box, which comes with the red pendant. So it has to link up to that control box. So
if I was to go into the basic package, how much would it really cost? How much would it cost me anyway, Linda?
If it's the basic package, it's £15.60 a month.
Right. Okay.
And if you wanted any other sensors attached, then if it's the Falls package you wanted, we then go. It starts going up a little bit.
Sorry to say, just for instance, say I would just wanted to get the flood detector. Would I be able to get that separately? Would I have to get the basic package instead?
Yes, it won't work. It won't work on its own because it needs to be linked up to the alarm response center.
Right. Okay.
And the only way it will do that is through the control box. So it's not something that can be bought just independently of the alarm response center.
So I'd have to go for the basic package if I did want to get the flood detector.
Yeah, you would have to go for that, but depending on how many sensors are required, depends on the price. So what I can do, I can send Andrew a list as well of the prices that can be sent out to anyone who's interested.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks, Linda.
brilliant. I think it's like any smart home technology that you can go and buy on the high street as well. If you go for smart lights, if you go for different things in your home, they all require what we call a hub or a control box that will communicate independently with all those different accessories or peripherals around the home. So a lot of these things never work independently on their own. They need a communications device to transmit the signals from that device, like you say, online or over the telephone line, or to the control center or the first response center. So that probably makes sense. But then that's why obviously the footprint is a really good device. If you just want that protection for you, out and about and in the home, just for you solely, that just works independently by itself and doesn't need a hub. So
it doesn't need, yeah, the only thing with that, Andrew, the only thing with the in-house one with the footprint, people just need to remember that it's not a hub, so it can't be linked up to the sensors.
That's right.
Yeah, it can be used as a communication device and a falls detector all in one.
Yeah.
And we can talk through it. The alarm response center can talk through it, but you can't attach any other sensors to it. That has to be the control box itself.
If somebody, say, if they had dementia and it was just a case of they would get a little bit confused if they were out of the house and they just wanted that footprint, how much would that be a month?
That's the $19.99 a month. But one thing to remember with this is there's no contract. So the difference between having this with a GPS SIM in it and, for example, a mobile phone, as you know yourselves, mobile phone companies will hook you in for 12 months, 18 months with a contract.
So this is just a rolling month by month, is it?
Yes, just month by month. If you don't like it after 4 weeks, you can give it back to us. There's no questions asked. No questions asked. There's no contract.
Oh, that's
I'm
handy
just
for
thinking in terms of somebody with dementia, it's actually quite a minimal thing that they would have to understand how to use. That it's pretty minimal.
Yes.
Yes. It would provide quite a useful thing for some people, I think.
It is. I often use the example of my own mum. My mum was she had a little bed and breakfast in Blackpool in the 80s, and she was struck down with dementia at 68. And I spent most of my time, unfortunately, trying to find her as the years progressed. And when I see the technology that's available to people now, I seriously, with hand on heart, think it's wonderful. And the reason I do is because if it had been available at the time, I would have used it.
It would have made such a difference to her, feeling more independent, and for you.
Yeah, of course, of course. I would have known where Mum was, because I could have received the message from that alarm response centre, who would then let me know where she is, instead of me having to eventually phone the police because I couldn't find her, which is exactly what happened many, many times. So it's such a reassurance. Yes.
I'll tell you what, it's been a real insight today into this type of technology, and I'm sure that in the future, Linda, we'd be really happy to have you come back on when there are new developments or there are new technology that comes around that you want to talk to us about. We'd be really happy to have you again. But I think you've been absolutely fantastic today, Linda, and I really want to thank you for coming along and telling us so much about all this technology.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.